Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. You may remember him from his days on the football fields at Kentucky, but now Eric Scott is the chief of police in Berea, and he's got a real interesting perspective on things that are going on in our cities, towns, and country right now. Eric, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
First of all, I want to talk to you about what happened in Berea this weekend because it was special. More than 1,000 people in the streets for a Berea Backs the Blue march. Talk about what that meant for you and your community to see that.
It was really good to see all these individuals come out and support us in a positive note. There's a lot going on in the country right now when it comes to our first responders. And so I don't want people to forget just how much we're doing for our communities. And though we have so much to learn, so much to grow, and so much to get better at, I can tell you for the most part, the majority of all law enforcement officers, men and women, will risk it all for individuals we may never know on a personal level. And so I don't want that narrative to get lost in all of the, I don't want to say negativity, but in all of the stuff that's going on in this 2020 year, from viruses and the unfortunate events that happened in Minnesota. It's good to see that, they came together and were able to put a nice show on for our city.
Have you had any negative feedback or reaction from any of your black friends that you are in the police force, or because they know you, they know that you're,
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that.
So, what's funny? I think that I have earned the respect of my friends enough so that they understand. But it was a quick divide when I decided to get into police work. It was a divide with those individuals that truly were my friends and those that were like, oh, you're a police officer now. I can't really hang out with you like that anymore.
Do you think that a big reason for the disconnect between black people and police starts early on in the home? I know that my parents never had the talk with me because I'm white and they didn't have to. But if your parents have the talk with you, which they, have to do, there's already that feeling from childhood that maybe the police are not your friend.
Yes. So something that I think needs to happen is we need to get back to what COP stands for, community oriented policing. I think what happens in law enforcement a lot of times is we are so understaffed, so underfunded, our interactions with the public now are we need to get to our next call. I think these conversations need to come on at that elementary age, and then they need to continue into middle school, get to our youth in that critical stage, of 14 to 18, so that we can truly hopefully make differences for the future. And I think if we can do that, I think we can change the whole narrative surrounding law enforcement for years to come.
Is it also important, do you believe, to have more people of color wearing that uniform?
I do. I think that is so important. I have a few African Americans and a few females. Their views, their life experiences are different. And so I think it's important that any and all police departments should look at diversifying themselves. One, so that you are actually policing a community that looks like them. But two, I know this is going to be very difficult in a lot of inner city areas because it's hard to find a lot of African Americans to get into this line of work. And so my job is to bridge that gap by saying, hey, look, we can actually do this job. I call it the locker room effect. I remember when we turned things around at Kentucky under Rich Brooks was because it was a collective effort of all of us all coming together. And I remember those experiences of sitting next to a white kid from Rockcastle, and on the right of me was a Samoan from California. And we all had to work together for one goal. And I think that if we could get to that point in law enforcement, police in general are going to grow from that.
Well, listen, thank you for protecting Andre Woodson. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
protecting the Berea community. And thank you for being a very positive voice in what can be a negative situation. So we appreciate all you're doing. Eric Scott, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, much more Hey Kentucky right after this.